The secret beginning you never witnessed. You were not always you. Your entire existence began as a single microscopic cell, smaller than a grain of salt. But what most people don't know is that within the first 24 hours of conception, that cell already knows how to divide, organize, and decide its future path. There is no brain, no eyes, no heart, yet everything is already being planned silently. Even more shocking, half of your genetic blueprint comes from your father and half from your mother, but the combination is completely unique. No human in history has ever had the same genetic mix as you. At this stage, you are just a cluster of cells, yet you already carry your entire life story in coded form. Science calls this moment zygote formation, but in reality, it is the first spark of a completely new human existence. What happens next is nothing short of biological intelligence in action. The invisible architect inside you. Within just a few days, something extraordinary happens that most textbooks barely explain deeply. Cells begin to specialize without any central control. There's no brain commanding them, yet some cells decide to become heart, others become brain, skin, or bones. Scientists still call this cell differentiation, but the truth is, no one fully understands how each cell knows its exact destiny. Even more fascinating is the role of chemical signals that act like invisible instructions, guiding development like a perfectly written code. At this stage, if even one signal is slightly altered, the entire body structure can change. This is not random, it is one of the most precise natural systems in existence. A human body is basically being constructed in real time, like a 3D structure assembling itself without human interference. The first pulse of life. Around the third week, something unbelievable happens. The first tiny heartbeat begins. But here is the part most people don't know. The heart starts beating before the brain is even fully formed. This means life begins with rhythm, not thought. The heart is one of the first organs to function because it is responsible for distributing life itself. Blood begins to flow through a system that did not exist days ago, as if the body suddenly switches on. Even more incredible, this early heart does not look like a full human heart. It starts as a simple tube that twists and folds into shape. This transformation is guided by mechanical force and genetic programming, working together like a biological machine. At this stage, life is already unstoppable and evolving rapidly every second. The forgotten universe inside the womb. By the second month, the developing human exists in a completely controlled environment that acts like a private universe. The placenta forms, a temporary organ that functions as lungs, kidneys, digestive system, and immune shield all at once. What most people don't realize is that the placenta is genetically shared between mother and baby, meaning it is partly self and partly non-self, a biological mystery still being studied today. The baby floats in amniotic fluid that protects it from pressure, shock, and infection. Inside this environment, the body begins forming facial structures, fingers, and brain regions at astonishing speed. Every minute, thousands of new neurons are created, more than at any other stage of life. It is like watching a universe building itself in silence. The brain that builds itself. The most astonishing part of human development is the brain. Before birth, the brain creates over 250,000 neurons per minute, forming complex networks without external experience. But here is something almost nobody knows. The brain initially produces far more neurons than it will ever need, and later removes excess connections in a process called synaptic pruning. This means the brain is not just building itself, it is sculpting itself like an artist. Even before a baby sees the world, its brain is already practicing patterns of movement, emotion, and response. Scientists believe this early phase shapes personality and intelligence more than we once thought. It is not just growth, it is pre-programmed learning before birth. The final miracle before birth. In the final stage, the baby is fully formed, but still refining critical systems like breathing and sensory response. The lungs are the last major organ to mature, even though they will be the first used after birth. Here is a lesser-known fact. The baby practices breathing movements inside the womb, even though there is no air. This practice helps prepare the muscles for real life. Another hidden detail is that the baby can already recognize its mother's voice weeks before birth, showing that sensory development begins earlier than most people think. By the time birth occurs, the human body has already completed one of the most complex biological processes in existence. What appears as a beginning is actually the end of a hidden journey that started in silence.